All right. Hello and welcome everyone to yet another episode of DGen Talks. Today I have with me Suveett, who is a dear friend of mine and honestly someone that I very much look up to. So Suveett is also better known as India's Bitcoin man. And I'm sure that we're going to talk a lot about Bitcoin, but I think most importantly, and something that you probably might have noticed at this point in this recording, is that we're not in a studio right now. We're actually in a mandir. And for my international audience who's not familiar with the concept, a mandir is essentially our religious place where we go for worship. So you can akin a mandir to a church. Um, so yeah, and of course we're going to be talking a lot also about the Digital Ram Mandir project that Suveett and his team is working upon. So Suveett, thank you so much for being in the podcast.
It's a real pleasure to be with you today, and the setting is immaculate, man. I mean, I could have never dreamt that you would actually organize this in a mandir. A mandir is a temple, so amazing. I mean, thank you so much. मेरे लिए serene एक होता ना experience की आते ही मुझे सबसे पहले अरे प्रभु श्री राम कहाँ हैं देख लूँ मैं जरा because we Indians are very religious anyways.
So I just felt it was topical given the fact that all the things that we're going to be talking about.
Right.
So
actually, religion tech is also going to take off this decade.
Another thing that I most definitely want to touch with you upon, because I read your Medium article on this. I went through that, and I know that you've actually understood this industry to a very deep level.
Exactly.
And all the caveats that come within it. So Suveett, before I kick off anything else, I think something that really drew me to you personally was, of course, the kind of journey that you've had. Right? Walk the audience through, how you got started, in your professional career, and how that co-mingled with your, personal journey as well.
So actually, I've been an entrepreneur all my life. It's very difficult for me to perceive myself working for somebody else's dreams. So, at the age of 15, I was like a young boy with a lot of aggression and ambition. And I bumped into a meeting of Germans at Maurya Sheraton. That was actually the only 5-star hotel along with Taj Palace that used to exist about 30 years back. 25, 27, 28 years back. So in 1996, I'm talking about. And they got really, first a little jittered, but then a little impressed with my confidence that I could barge into their meeting because I was looking for work. And I was like, okay, let me do something with the international community because the Eurozone was being formed and all that stuff. And then, they said, okay, we'll give you a sponsorship. You come with us to Germany. And at the age of 16, I left for Germany when I could not even have, I had not even gone to Kanpur alone, but my mom was like terrified. Kya karega, kya khayega, kahan ja raha hai? I was like, nahi, mujhe jaane do. I want to do something. So I went there. They showed me a lot of companies and places in Germany, in Baden-Württemberg. That the meeting of the Germans was from Baden-Württemberg state. Eventually, I caught hold of two very interesting concepts, one of which was adhesives. And I thought I should start this business. So with very little capital, with whatever I could garner up with, I started up that business and I went on to challenge Fevicol. Fevicol was the Indian giant. And people thought I was crazy. They were like, "Tu pagal hai, tera dimag kharab hai. Fevicol ka jod tootta nahi hai, aur Fevicol hai." And I was like, "Sir, wo Fevicol hoga, lekin ye collaborate hai, Germany se hai, aur D3 glue है, which is a much better superior quality glue, and it was only one-sided application and all that stuff. मैं ज्ञान बांटता रहा लोगों को. 4-5 साल लग गए, struggle बहुत किया. उसके बाद ना Henkel came into the business, promoting similar kind of products through their ancillary division called National Starch Chemicals, which put up an office and factory in Bombay. It was a very big unit. So वो भी मेरे सामने David versus Goliath की story थी. But when two people start singing the same song, ना, then others notice. एक ही गाना गा रहा होता है तो लोग कहते हैं यार ये तो भिखारी है, इसको पैसे भी क्या देने हैं. And they were a very big company. तब से मेरी गाड़ी चल पड़ी. From 2002 until 2013 I did not look back. थोड़ा सा डाउनफॉल आया 13 के बाद, and 2015 I could see that I have become pretty big and people are really jealous and envious, and कंपनी के ही रिप्रेजेंटेटिव स्टार्टेड who were in India, they started revolting and they said कि नहीं यार, ये तो हम ये कर लेंगे, कालरा साहब क्या करेंगे, all that stuff. So I could see the writing on the wall that I have to exit this business, and eventually I sold that company to Nippon Paints, सिंगापुर की जो Nippon Paints है, and I got into the restaurant business. That's how my journey started. Restaurant में फिर आपको पता है socializing है, बातें हैं, फिर innovation लेके आए. आर्डर के नाम से जब रेस्टोरेंट खोला तो उसमें हमने कहा कि what is missing, and what we could see is that people wanted to have a fixed rate menu, and we actually served it to them in the form of thalis, but not in the form of a buffet, but in the form of a buffet at your table. कि 4 लोग आओ, अनलिमिटेड थाली खाओ, मोदी जी की 56 इंच थाली. दैट बिकेम अ सुपरस्टार हिट. फिर यूनाइटेड इंडिया थाली जो इंडिया की मैप की शेप की है वो लेके आए, तो वो गाड़ी चल पड़ी. तो बस यही है जर्नी. और 2017-18 में, बिकॉज आई एम अ गाय हु वाज ऑलवेज लुकिंग आउट फॉर न्यू थिंग्स, बिकॉज क्यूरियोसिटी माइंडसेट बहुत स्ट्रांग है. तो 17 में व्हेन बिटकॉइन वाज रियली राइजिंग, आई डिड नॉट अंडरस्टैंड बिटकॉइन. आई वाज लाइक कि चलो स्पेकुलेशन है, खेलते हैं थोड़ी देर. काफी पैसे लगा के काफी पैसे उड़ा भी दिए और डूब गए, बट आई डिड नॉट माइंड. और कुछ तो वो गेन बिटकॉइन के स्कैम में चले गए, तो ठीक है, वो भी एक लर्निंग थी, जर्नी थी. फिर लाइफ चलती रही. 2020 when COVID finally hit and I could understand the world has changed dramatically and permanently.
Yeah.
That's when I got really interested as to what really Bitcoin is. And I studied, and then I learned coding also. I mean, I started on my coding journey right from JavaScript, TypeScript, Solidity, Rust, सब कुछ सीख डाला.
And at this point, you are, at the age that you are,
Yeah.
and you were able to
I was 30, 38, 39, yeah.
and you were able to reinvent yourselves in non-coding.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, life is changing pretty fast.
Yeah.
We're living in the 21st century. Every 5 years you need to adopt new skills or you will die off.
True.
और वो 5 साल के अंदर जो accumulate करे हुए skills हैं वो 10 से 15 साल चल सकते हैं. उसके बाद you have to reinvent again. And also, given the fact that I am somebody who's looking out for cutting edge innovation wherever it may exist, and blockchain and Bitcoin really caught my fancy. Otherwise, I could have gone into some other kind of data science also, or some other kind of, but this thing really caught me because it teaches you what really money is.
Yeah.
And I'm very curious, and I got dug deep into it, with this Mike Maloney's What is Money? Sorry, not Mike Maloney's What is Money? The Hidden Secrets of Money by Mike Maloney. What is Money is by Robert Breaker. But then this really caught my fancy and attention, and I could see that the world has also changed. So I thought, why not try something else also? That's when I started learning coding, and then the journey started. And then eventually in 2022, we came up with this idea of Digital Ram Mandir, because we knew the Ram Mandir was going to get built. And people are living in a digital age, so everybody's got short attention spans and very short times. मंदिर जाना तो बहुत दूर की बात है, अपने घर के मंदिर में भी लोग जो है ना कंजूसी करते हैं, उसमें भी बस ऐसे मत्था टेक के निकल जाते हैं. There is no ritual, there is no culture that they're exhibiting. It's just that कि बस वो guilt के लिए मंदिर में जाके एक बार भगवान जी को मत्था टेक लेते हैं. So I thought that this has to change, and the only way we could change it is by producing a digital version of Ram Lalla, where you can actually go. And then the journey of development of Digital Ram Mandir started. So it's like it's a sequence of events is all I can say, that propelled me to go from chemicals trading business to selling to Nippon to coming into restaurants, and then finally into
you've done quite the spectrum of things then at this point, is what I would say. I will, obviously, because you got to learn about Bitcoin in 2020, and you learned, you know a plethora of Web3 languages, by the way. So after doing all of that, right, most people within the crypto space, they learn about Bitcoin, they learn about crypto, and so on and so forth, and they launch a DeFi protocol, or so on and so forth. Nothing against DeFi protocols, just by the way, but people look for financial incentives, right? That okay, let's make a product that can make me money quick. Why is it that when you learned about it, your idea was that okay, I want to make a digital Ram Mandir?
So again, this is a journey, that सबसे important बात क्या है मैं आपको बताता हूँ. I think this point is very important. This fiat money, that standard that we're living in, is such that governments can print money and debase you. It's like कि आपके घर में तिजोरी में पैसे पड़े हैं, but क्योंकि सरकार और पैसे छाप देती है by issuing bonds, which is the way that they come with the money for financing themselves. तो वो आपकी तिजोरी के अंदर जो पैसे पड़े उसकी वैल्यू घटा देती है because denominator बढ़ जाता है. It's called hidden tax. People don't understand inflation. And I also tell people कि in order to actually understand Bitcoin, और वो मेरी pinned tweet भी है, that you need to first understand what inflation is. अब होता क्या है कि क्योंकि ये fiat money का standard है जिसमें हम used to हो गए हैं ये देखने के लिए कि सब चीज़ों के prices rise हो रहे हैं. वो एक्चुअली में प्राइसेस राइज नहीं हो रहे हैं, वो मनी जो डिनोमिनेटर है उसकी वैल्यू लूज हो रही है. घर की तो वही यूटिलिटी है, लोग लेकिन दूसरा घर इन्वेस्टमेंट के लिए लेते हैं कि उनको पता है इन्वेस्टमेंट से पैसे बढ़ जाएंगे, बट वो एक्चुअली घर नहीं बढ़ रहा है, वो डिनोमिनेटर की वैल्यू कम हो रही है. स्टार्टिंग विद दिस कॉन्टेक्स्ट, नाउ यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट बिकॉज ऑफ दिस फिएट मनी स्टैंडर्ड, एवरीबडीज टाइम होराइजन इज शॉर्टेंड. एवरीबडी इज फीलिंग कि यार मुझे आज ही पैसा कमाना है. और जो ये क्रिप्टो का भी जो चाहे वो डीफाई हो या एनएफटी हो, ये जितनी भी स्पेकुलेशन आती हैं, इट्स बिकॉज ऑफ इजी मनी पॉलिसी फ्रॉम द फेडरल गवर्नमेंट, primarily from the US, which printed like $6 trillion after COVID. Collectively, they printed like 10 to 11 trillion dollars across the world. अगर पूरे वर्ल्ड का मॉनेटरी बेस ही M2 मनी सप्लाई जिसे हम कहते हैं वो about 25 ट्रिलियन है, और उसमें आप 10 ट्रिलियन का तड़का लगा दोगे तो झाग तो ऊपर आएगी आएगी. और वो झाग ही है जो ये क्रिप्टो की, एनएफटी के, ये डीफाई के स्कैम्स बने. लोगों की इंटेंशन नहीं होती किसी को ठगने की, बट एवरीबडी वांट्स टू मेक मनी क्विकली because their time horizons are shortened. And why their time horizons are shortened is because they see everything's price rising and they will not be able to afford it. And if they really want to do something in life, they have to do it very quickly. Now you're getting the psychology of people, with which crypto, and not necessarily all of crypto, because most of them are pretty good serious projects, but then the periphery of it is all scams. अब होता क्या है, उस वजह के अंदर मेरा जो है फिलॉसफी लाइफ की कि आई एम ओके प्लेस्ड इन लाइफ, मेरे को किसी को ठगना नहीं है, मुझे कोई पंप एंड डंप स्कैम नहीं करना, तो इसलिए मुझे अभी फिलहाल उस प्रोजेक्ट पे फोकस करना है जिसपे एक तो मेरा पैशन हो, दूसरा लोगों के लिए जिसके अंदर यूटिलिटी हो, जेन्युइन वर्ल्ड रियल लाइफ यूटिलिटी, सिर्फ बातों की यूटिलिटी, और तीसरा कि उस यूटिलिटी के बाद में इफ आई सी दैट आई कैन एक्चुअली इनकलकेट दिस इनटू द बिटकॉइन ब्लॉकचेन एंड लॉन्च a token on top of Bitcoin's L2, I would really love to do it, but that token must represent some value because the value has already been built by the protocol, so then it will not be a pump and dump. कि मेरे जो insider allocations है लोगों की, जो हर टीम या फाउंडेशन की होती है, उससे किसी और को नुकसान या क्षति ना पहुंचे, ये मेरी सोच है. अब वो सोच मेरे हिसाब से राइट है कि मैं ऑनेस्ट हूं तो मुझे किसी से गलत नहीं करना है, एंड आई वांट टू मेक मनी बट आई डोंट वांट टू मेक इट मुझे आज ही सारा पैसा कमाना. जब तक भगवान ने हाथ पैर दिए, दिमाग दिया है, सब चीजों को यूटिलाइज करके स्लो एंड स्टडी ग्रेजुअल राइज करेंगे जिसमें किसी को क्षति नहीं पहुंचे. दैट्स द गोल. इसलिए आई वेंट इनटू समथिंग विदाउट अ टोकन स्पेशली, बट which first has to build utility, and once the utility has been built, then you can actually launch tokens or you can launch points, so you can call them whatever you want, but those points will have some meaning. And those points could be centralized database run points like an Oracle database, or it could be run on a blockchain also. Again, that is debatable and to be looked out into the future, but eventually the goal is that everything that is being built should have utility, and that utility should represent some value. ये कहानी.
True. And why do you think that in terms of the current wave that has sort of picked up again, I think to some extent fueled by ETFs, to some extent fueled by the actual sort of epiphany that people are having, that okay, everything is leading up to Bitcoin, and that's the genesis of it. Why do you think that wave is coming back again?
So there are two questions in this. First is that why is the epiphany leading towards Bitcoin? Because Bitcoin actually is the most secure and decentralized blockchain. There is a word in blockchain called the Griffin's trilemma. Is the blockchain trilemma: security, decentralization, and scalability. Normally, all the L1s which are now coming in, or which have come in the last 5 years, including Ethereum, they've always focused on getting smart contract execution and scalability in terms of creating a real world utility. With whereas Bitcoin has from ab initio only focused on first that there is no creator who exists who you can go and shoot at gunfire, or you can governments can go and go after his life.
Hmm.
So it's a pseudonymous, nobody knows. Second, Bitcoin is basically always focused on decentralization. So now you have like millions of people running nodes, and you have 600 equitillion hashes per second of mining compute network, which is like 6 with 18 zeros. Now
Yeah.
imagine the value. I mean, it's impossible to even calculate. The third thing is that once you build enough security and decentralization, you can build on top of it scalability, but it cannot be the other way around.
Hmm.
Whereas all the L1s are focusing on fast compute time, high throughput, low latency, etc., by sacrificing one of the three, but one of the two which are more important,
Hmm.
namely security and decentralization.
Hmm.
You can build scalability on top of security and decentralization, but you cannot build security and decentralization on top of scalability.
Right.
And it's a trilemma because it cannot be solved. That's why it's
Hmm.
called a trilemma. So the idea is that the only use case, according to me, of a blockchain is basically to have the best money,
Hmm.
and which is distributed and which doesn't have a creator. There is no foundation, there is no marketing team, there is no PR team, there is no admin team, there is nothing. It's just a bunch of volunteers like you and me, and it's then perfect money also. Because what is the otherwise the definition of money? Money today exists in a digital format, any which ways, 90% of it. So money is basically nothing but a database. And now this database is being controlled at different levels by the different respective republics or governments of those republics. But eventually, if the money can become one, and which is the dream of Bitcoin, and I believe that it will be fulfilled because internet is coming after money now, and internet is always one because of the huge network advantage, which is also called the Lindy's effect, or you can also say Gresham's law in terms of money, that bad money will drive out good into the hands of hodlers like you and me. And eventually, the good money will surface being the unit of account. Today, Bitcoin is being speculative because people think they can make money out of Bitcoin, but because their definition of money is Indian rupee and US dollar. Whereas for me, having understood the entire journey of Bitcoin and all the other different cryptos and blockchains, I've understood that first, the end use of blockchain is money. Second, money always converges to one. Third, the internet cannot afford more than 3-4 monies. And that is why the epiphany that everything is going to converge into Bitcoin eventually. All the other cryptos and blockchains which are being run are basically testing and battlegrounds for different kinds of technologies like ZK rollups or whatever, which are eventually going to be implemented on top of Bitcoin as Bitcoin has to scale, because scalability can be built on decentralization and security, not the other way around. Now, you have to understand that eventually people are not bullish enough because they feel that governments will control it, governments will ban it. China has tried to ban it. US is now going after miners by asking them to report where exactly and how much electricity. Eventually, everything has failed. Lindy's effect says the longer you survive, the more chances you have. Okay, it's the law of the nature also. If a lion's cub does not die within 15, 20, 30 days, it's a big chance that he will live for 8 to 9 years. That's again same with internet money, which is called Bitcoin, which is magic internet money. That eventually, because it's survived for 15 years and it's become so robust now that not even 5 governments or 10 governments of the most advanced economies can come together and ban it, because in order to 51% attack it, they will actually have to make an investment of about $20 billion by purchasing S9 miners or S21 and miners. And in order to do that, they will drive up the price of miners, which is again a different algorithm altogether. So eventually they will not be able to do it. It's game theory full on.
Right.
And eventually, because everything will converge to one, so there is a very good probability, in my opinion, that because Bitcoin hasn't failed, that it will actually become the internet's native currency and the currency of the world eventually in the next 20 years. But it's a long journey. The US dollar is not going to die. It's just that it's going to become less and it's going to get more debased.
But do you think that then world governments will let that happen?
That's exactly the point which I was coming to, that eventually it's game theory. It's not about what the governments will want. It's about what will happen eventually. And my personal feeling is that eventually people will understand that something which cannot be debased and something which is code and something which is mathematics, you would rather like to be on the side of mathematics than being on the side of governments. And eventually, this money will eventually win, because it's also the hardest money. Nobody can print Bitcoin. You can always print dollars and Indian rupees. That's the point. People will understand once they see that their purchasing power is getting depleted because of the printing, and then they correlate it to the printing, because at this moment they don't even understand. And that's why I said I'm always on the cutting side of innovation because I'm very curious minded. And I have understood this whole journey.
Hmm.
कि ये हो क्या रहा है विश्व में?
Hmm.
People think that, something is wrong, but they don't know what is wrong.
Hmm.
Eventually, if they finally understand that money is the root cause of everything, and it's the money which is corrupt, and the database is corrupt, and the database can be printed at will by the governments. I mean, एक कल परसों का इंटरव्यू था न्यूजीलैंड के सेंट्रल बैंकर, the head of New Zealand Central Bank. He's saying that we print it and they believe it that it's money. He actually said it on.
Wow.
And this was outrageously audacious, what he said. But eventually, I think that's the truth which he's admitted to.
Right. Yeah.
That they can print money out of thin air. And what eventually is money is that money is an important tool. You spend your life's energy, and energy is everything. And based on your energy, you are accumulating money for what reason? So that you have a better future. But अगर उसकी टेंशन ही यही लगी रहेगी आपकी कि यार now I've accumulated money, now I have to put it to use by investing in different stock markets and mutual funds and this, then that means that money is basically losing its value, and that is propelling you to invest. Otherwise, you'll lose the purchasing power parity. Because whatever energy you put into your hard work in order to accumulate that money should also have that energy to pass this through space and time. But that money which we are using today is corrupted. It does not have the capacity to hold its value over the next 5 years. And that propels you towards investment or into other vehicles. Means that, something is wrong, but people are not able to make the equation exactly what is wrong. But वो आने वाला है time, because I think अभी COVID जैसा या कोई और एक ऐसा deflationary shock आएगा world में, which will question everybody's thesis कि ये हो क्या रहा है. After this, governments will print again shit ton of money. And then again, things will become very expensive because inflation, as Milton Friedman says, is nothing but a monetary phenomenon. It is only and only being manufactured at Washington, D.C. or New Delhi or Beijing, not in your house. You don't have the permission to print. And Bitcoin being code and being fixed in code and being really, really fixed, there is nowhere on earth, no asset exists on earth that can be that is completely fixed in supply as Bitcoin is.
So then why don't we go back to something like a gold standard or
Gold does not have salability across space and time. It has salability across time. It does not have salability across space. Bitcoin, you just remember 12 words. You can go out of the country, retrieve your Bitcoin from anywhere just by using those 12 words. So it has salability across space also, apart from salability across time. Bitcoin is the only one which is fixed. 21 million means 21 million. If gold prices shoot up by 100% tomorrow, miners will start extracting more gold. In 2 years, the gold supply will increase by 3% or 4% inflation rather than 2% currently. So the point is that Bitcoin is the only asset on earth which is completely fixed in supply, irrespective of the demand. And now coming back to your point, because the ETFs are actually taking in a lot of institutional money, which is evident, 500 million of net inflows every day, which means that the rich people, not the hedge funds. Hedge funds are traders, they want to sell, but the rich people want to remain rich. The rich people or family offices which are buying through these ETFs, just through their brokerage accounts, they want to remain rich. So they will not put more than 1% of their total net worth into Bitcoin. But imagine if Bitcoin is growing at 70% CAGR every year in 14 years or 10 years, that 1% portfolio becomes 14% of their portfolio. So, that is the goal of these people, and that's why and they want to hold it for the long term because they know now eventually the value of this asset. And that is why, again, the epiphany that why Bitcoin is going to be the dominant currency, not the others, because Bitcoin is actually the most secure and the most decentralized.
Well, that's a really interesting point that you stated, that ultimately there is a physical barrier to gold.
Yeah.
And Bitcoin does not have that, right? So it transcends space and time, which is very wonderfully put. One other thing that I do want to ask you, because I feel it's a little bit topical right now, which is the fact that there's a lot of, let's say, inflow of capital that is coming into the Bitcoin market right now because of the ETFs. I personally, given that I believe in decentralization and I know what happens when too much control of the supply is given in the hands of few people. Do you feel that that worry or that concern is actually well founded, or do you feel that that's
See,
not the case?
you and I cannot do much about it. If you're talking specifically about the fact that BlackRock and Fidelity and some of the other,
Because they already own 80% of the world. I mean, the likes of
I mean,
BlackRock.
no, I'll give you a figure.
Okay.
Let's not talk weight, let's talk mathematics.
All right.
Because I believe in mathematics. I don't believe in humans. I believe more in mathematics than I believe in humans. Obviously, I trust in humans. Because you cannot do or execute any job, my team has to do it.
Yeah.
Eventually, it's the trust. But if I were to trust between human and mathematics, I will always trust mathematics. So again, speaking on mathematical point, let's assume they buy $200 million of Bitcoin every day. There are approximately 264 trading days in a year in which the ETFs operate out of 365. In order to get to $100 billion, they will require 2 years to reach that level. In order to, it's just $200 million a day. $100 billion out of the 8 or $10 trillion is only 1%. So in order to get to 1% of their total assets under management, AUM जिसे हम बोलते हैं, of these big firms, 1%, Bitcoin to become 1% of the AUM of BlackRock and Fidelity, they will have to continuously buy $200 million per day for 2 years. So I do not worry too much about the fact that BlackRock and Fidelity and the others like Schwab's and whatever, I will be able to control the Bitcoin network. Yes, they will have a substantial amount of Bitcoin, which will be much more than what anybody can fathom or any big corporation can also fathom. But because it's a collective, they allow people through their brokerages to buy. So it's a collective money, and they charge a 2% or 1% or 0.25% fees on it every year. But they will still not be able to hold more than 1% of their AUM, which in Bitcoin terms, with the price multiplier effect of Bitcoin, which will be actually approximately not more than 3 to 4% of the Bitcoin in existence at that moment of time. So a 3 to 4% supply does not mean that they have controlled the network.
Right.
And in fact, even if they reach 20% of the supply, they will still not be able to control the network. And that's another beauty of Bitcoin.
Right.
In the fiat world, if you have 20% of the world's wealth under your management, you almost like call the shots, because you can call up Janet Yellen or Jerome Powell. Hey, buddy, you have to do this now. And then you say, okay, boss, because you control 20% of the assets. And they are the issuers of those assets. In Bitcoin, there is no issuer. The core itself is the issuer. The protocol itself works in a decentralized way. So even if they achieve 20%, assuming you have this conundrum in your mind that okay, what happens if they own 20% of Bitcoin? Who are they going to call? Who are they going to work with? Bitcoin is just as decentralized for you as well as for me. Irrespective of how much Bitcoin you have, irrespective of how much Bitcoin I have, the rules are the same. The network is the same. Your importance is the same. My importance is the same. Except that you have more money than me. That's all.
Makes sense.
You're getting my point.
But then also tell me this. If you actually look at, okay, they can't control the network, but they can control the means to the network. So to build the network, you need miners, you need validators, you need a tech, a physical tech stack beneath the ecosystem to be able to support it. Do you, and I'm really going into hypotheticals right now, but
I understand.
Do you feel that, let's say in the worst case scenario from the regulator's perspective, that actually Bitcoin ends up becoming the internet's money, and everybody is using that, and there is no use for the fiat currencies that continuously lose value? Do you feel at that particular point in time regulators will actually take a step to block off the access to
I think you're overestimating the capacity and the capability of the regulators now. Because this network is so huge today at 600 equitillion hashes a second that they're free to try today also. And I'm very sure they will fail. I mean, 10 years, it would become impossible for them even to think of trying rather than trying. Having said that, rich people or whatever the powerful people in the world will always play games. Humans are meant to play games. BlackRock and Fidelity could control the miners, but does not mean that they will be able to control enough mining network in order to effect change into the Bitcoin protocol. That's another game theory which will play according to its own time and event horizons. So I am very positive that the time of killing Bitcoin is already way past us. Now it is more like an institutional asset. It's a legitimate asset. It's an asset nobody can disallow you from owning. And at the same time, you would be very early to start accumulating today also, because we are still very, very, very early. People don't understand how money works. And that is the crux of the blockchain journey, is all I can say.
You know, one of the things that comes to my mind right now is, I mean, call it the effect of the place that we're in, maybe. Do you feel that there is a spiritual angle to the Bitcoin journey?
Obviously, there is.
And what is that? Educate me on it.
Because I'm a Bitcoin maxi, and you don't become a Bitcoin maxi without experiencing pain first. I actually was also into shitcoins. Unfortunately, I lost, and I understood why I lost. Because an exchange goes down all of a sudden, and that exchange was run by humans, and humans are corrupted, and then you understand, oh my God, where I was not trusting. Everybody will go through that journey until they become a Bitcoin maxi themselves. They will first become, Bitcoin only, then they become crypto only, then they do degen shit, and then they eventually come, that's called the Lawrence curve, then they eventually will come, and not the Lawrence curve, sorry, it's the scaling curve. I don't know what's the name of the curve, but it's the curve like this. Then you become only Bitcoin because you understood what life is. Now, to your next part of the question, that what is the spirituality behind it? What is spirituality eventually? Spirituality is just knowing that your spirit exists and yours also exists, that I can worship yours and you can worship mine, and collectively we can worship everybody else. आपने वो कभी story देखी होगी, The Egg? I'll send you. You should read it. That eventually the entire world is me and I am the entire world. मैं ही ब्रह्मा हूँ. I am the creator and I am the destroyer. But eventually we don't realize that the God lives within us. Bitcoin की जो ये journey है ना, it could only be discovered. It could not be invented. You may call Satoshi Nakamoto a legend. He is, but eventually he was a human. It's just that he happened to be at the right time with the right code at the right place, and with the wrath of God or with the good luck of others, and for the development of Bitcoin, God took his life away. In my opinion, he was half-finished. And now, because there is nobody you can go after, and this is a protocol which lives on the internet, what else do you call it than being spiritual? That this journey itself goes to show that it was meant to be discovered. It is not meant to be invented, what other blockchains are trying to achieve. So from that angle, you can say that yes, I am very spiritually oriented. Also because for 400 to 5, in fact for 5,000 years, humans have not been able to invent perfect money. Money has always been, under the power of either kings initially, or then under big governments.
Yeah.
Money has never been something which belongs to everybody. It could be issued by somebody. Now, first time in history, we've been able to perfectly create perfect money, which lives on the internet as just a code which nobody can break into, and everybody has tried, and eventually everybody will fail, and then eventually everybody will accept, including the governments, and then this will be beneficial for everybody. Why? Because you are going to be able to perfectly store your energy, which you've spent in order to work, in order to accumulate that money, into a kind of money which does not debase and which will last over time, because eventually the price value of Bitcoin in terms of fiat money will keep increasing. Maybe at 40 to 50% CAGR, compounded annual growth rate for the next decade, maybe then 20%, maybe then 10%, maybe then 5%, but it will keep eventually increasing with respect to fiat. So your unit of account may be still INR or dollars because you live in that standard and you live and breathe in that standard. आज ऑटो रिक्शा पे बैठते हो तो भी डॉलर या रुपए ही चलते हैं. अगर पुलिस वाला पकड़ ले तो भी आप ये नहीं कह सकते कि सर मेरे से बिटकॉइन ले लो. आप यही बोलोगे सर ये दो पकड़ो गांधी जी, 2 नोट दे देंगे और निकल लेंगे. तो वो क्योंकि because you live in that standard. Whereas my unit of account already has become Bitcoin because I understand the intrinsic value of it. So बात तो ये आ जाती है कि जब आप किसी चीज को बहुत अंदरूनी तरीके से समझ लेते हैं ना, then you become spiritually rooted towards it. And that's the spirituality angle which you're talking about.
No, I think I do agree, and I think also in terms of for in my naivete, uh, what I have realized is, and I think not just me, for a lot of the youth within our country specifically, I think they've realized the fact that no matter what it is in life, right? No matter what technology comes about, no matter what happens, there is a connection to a eternal force or eternal power, and that is out of your out of your control, and there's really nothing that you can do about it. I think honestly, when it comes to Bitcoin as well, like you perfectly put, that given that it was just something that was meant to happen and it eventually did. So why I particularly pointed that specific aspect out is I feel even in your specific journey, and what I personally also feel is the fact that this was a thing that was that is discovered by a lot of people, and ultimately somebody who understands religion or understands who's read the Gita, who's read our holy books, at least from I can talk from our perspective, not read any other one of them, uh, to the fact that there is really a correlation that you probably don't see.
See, I've had the privilege of actually having traveled to almost like 500 religious places across India.
Hmm.
At one point between 2013 to 15, when I was a little disenchanted with my life because I was losing on my business after having built it for 17, 18 years, I got stuck into what is life? What is the meaning? I went to Australia to my sister's place, spent a month over there, doing nothing and understanding what is life. Eventually, you can't learn it in 1 month. So I came back and I started doing pilgrimages. And then, uh, from there, my connection with spirituality, if not per se religion, became very strong. Because I could see that people are so connected to their either the inside God or the God that we worship in the Murti. And that is another story we can delve into later as to why Murtis and why not something else. But there is a story behind it. But I got enchanted with faith that you can lose everything in life, but you cannot lose your hope.
Hmm.
And from there to this journey of Digital Ram Mandir, that I eventually thought that what could be a better way of bringing people into Bitcoin than by spirituality or religion, because the
Absolutely.
only things people consume are let's say politics, entertainment, Bollywood, cricket, religion, sex, and leverage.
Yeah.
These are the 7 driving forces of humankind across the world.
Yeah.
And I was trying to focus on one of them because I cannot focus on everything. In religion being very close, spirituality being very close to me, I thought this is the perfect match. And then coming back to Digital Ram Mandir, why Digital Ram Mandir? Again, is because people are living in the digital age. Their time is going to get even more squeezed. It's not as if they're going to go back to the analog age.
Hmm.
They will have shorter attention spans as they are bombarded with much more noise across the world, and you have to filter the signal from the noise. The eventual goal is that why not we create a 1 minute storytelling format of activities in which we create 50 to 100 modules of different kinds of chapters like digital Ramayana, digital Mahabharat, digital Ram Mandir, digital Vedas, digital Jyotirlingas, and digital Chardham, which are on our agenda at this moment. These 6 different events or pilgrimages, which are the most important in Google searched in Hindu mythology or Hindu history or for Hindus across the world, which hold cultural significance. And starting from one is the digital Ram Mandir, is that why not we create a 1 minute storytelling format in which you are able to not only go and do the darshan of Lord Ram in Ram Mandir virtually from the comfort and convenience of your home, but do it in such a way that you are actually immersed in that activity by doing that activity and helping Lord Ram. Like up, you're giving pankha to Lord Ram in his darbar, or you're doing a vriksharopan, which is like planting a tree in his garden where Lord Ram comes and does his walk. And then you're doing the murti shringar of Lord Ram's murti, and then you're cooking food in the bhojanale, and then Lord Ram is feeding on it. So it's like you're immersing, you're connecting in a very hyper realistic manner and which I feel is going to be the norm over the next 10 years as GPUs are gaining more power, AI is getting more efficient, videos are getting created through Sora. So eventually this will also converge, and we have created this website in such a way that it is completely VR compatible. And also at this moment also we're using augmented reality collectibles which come to your WhatsApp. So the goal was to do it in first in such a manner that it is entertaining, because people don't have time. They have to have entertainment in that. So second, it fulfills a need of humans, innate need that, they want to be connected to their spirituality. And third, doing it in a VR and AR compatible manner. And fourth is doing it in such a way eventually which will catch up over the next 5 years, because you will see that religion tech is on the rise in India. After Yogi, we see Modi, we see Annamalai, or we don't know, maybe Jai Shankar, but eventually we see a BJP ruled India for some time, and BJP is very close to cultural dominance for Hindus in that sense. And it's a good thing, because Sanatan Dharma has a lot of things to teach us. So I think religion tech has a very good scope and very good future. And also the fact that, I'm counting on law of numbers. Eventually, if I'm creating 100 modules, let's say it cost me $5 million to do it. But if one module or two modules out of those 100 pick up, the entire website traffic will pick up. So the goal is to create in such a way that the law of averages of numbers will come in. I cannot be focusing on one aspect and doing all my thing, and if that aspect fails, everything fails, the project fails, and I'm dead. True. It should be that, it is created in such a containerized approach. So that's why Digital Ram Mandir, because people have an innate need. Why Digital Ram Mandir in a storytelling format? Because VR and AR are going to catch up. And with the help of AI, we will see a lot of good things. Third, because Digital Ram Mandir actually allows you to immerse yourself in engaging activities to help Lord Ram, which is again a bigger feeling than helping yourself. You could be selfish, but you will always be, humans are always meant to have a higher purpose, a higher calling. So hence, this journey of the mind got translated into this website in such a way that we want to capture the topmost sites of India and the topmost activities of India. We don't want to focus on everything, but we want to do it in a very creative, immersive, engaging, hyper-realistic storytelling format. So this journey was like this, eventually. And coming back to Bitcoin and Digital Ram Mandir is because once we are able to create enough utility, enough traffic, we could have digital darshan certificates on Bitcoin, which will last for centuries. That you visited Digital Ram Mandir, and your great grandchild can also see that you visited Digital Ram Mandir, and you offered your prayers, because Bitcoin will remain for centuries to come. And that digital darshan certificate could then be sponsored by some corporate, and we can mint it for free on the Bitcoin blockchain and give it to you by email. Using technologies like Web3 Auth, which do not exist on Bitcoin today, but will eventually. Like it exists on Solana and Polygon, but eventually these are testing grounds, as I told you. So the goal is that, we have to have a long-term thinking. We know religion tech is on the rise. We also know that people are going to consume religion, which is an innate feeling. We also want to just change the way people consume religion, and I think, in sync with the times, we are on the right track, because the way to consume religion for the digital janta today cannot be to go to a physical mandir, because they just don't have that.
And I think as time passes by, I'm seeing this more and more, that right now the best solution that somebody has is, maybe doing darshans on YouTube, right, or doing darshans on Facebook, and so on and so forth. And I think there is a large audience that
there's a comfort in that. You could do it at your home, you could do it in the office, you could even do it in the car. There's comfort. You're not bound by that, okay, today I have to go from the traffic, go to this temple, go there finally. I think your mother is such a staunch bhakt of Guruji, and she goes to the Guruji Mandir because she's a very staunch bhakt. Maybe I am also a bhakt, but I am not able to devote that much of time and energy. My wife has been telling me for last 7-8 days, and I've been telling her, acha chalte. The point is, if Guruji comes to my mobile, and mobile is the most friendly instrument humans have for themselves, and which will last another generation at least, until maybe something else gets invented. What if Guruji comes to your home in a very immersive way? That you could actually feel and touch him, and you could, take Ashirwad from him. So the idea is to do it in such a way that Guruji comes alive on your home screen at the comfort and convenience of your time and place.
If I were to, because I think the concept is very familiar to us, but it's foreign to a lot of people that are not from India, right? And for them to be able to understand India's obsession with religion, right? How would you break it down for them? Okay, this is the reason why we are, and I think more and more as time passes by, uh, even people from my generation or younger than my generation are getting more and more inculcated into religion, which quite honestly is baffling to me, because when I was maybe 11, 12 years old, being religious was not cool, and it's suddenly
It's
somehow
become cool.
it's become
It's when the
cool.
fabric of society and the consciousness changes, and it changes eventually in a societal format that it's now again become cool to talk about Jai Shree Ram.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This is a change which comes over time. Now I can perceive this change to be coming directly because of BJP's rule, and also because of the media and the news, because eventually what gets fed into your mind over a period of time, your mind starts to accept it as the truth, because that even if it is a lie, because it's being fed like a propaganda machine into your brain starts to accept it as a truth. Although this is not propaganda, this is genuinely bringing alive Sanatan Dharma, which I think we should be proud of rather than we should be shying away from, because India has always been, after even independence, we became a socialist country. That everything is being controlled, the means of production, license raj by the government and all that stuff. Eventually we went towards capitalism, but then we were still neo-colonialism, that nahi wo mai baap ki sarkar chahiye ya wo firangi hamesha sahi hai. The foreigner is also a human being, he's not always right. Now we have got that pride, at that sense of that ambition and that domination that has suddenly crept up into the minds of Hindus. And that is why, and thanks to Modi Sarkar for this, that thanks, and because of that, we suddenly feel more confident in our own culture, and that's why we are talking about it. It's become cool and fashionable. So I think this is also a journey which I can explain. And I think this journey will continue, because humans, no matter where they are, they need some identity. And now Hindus have found a new self identity, and with that identity comes a lot of passion and then pride. And this then leads to domination, and that is why we are meant to dominate in the next 25 years. East is rising, India is rising.
I was just going to come to that, because there is a.
But again, sorry, one question that you also asked was that why we have become religious is not that we were religious before also, and we were religious today as well.
Yeah.
We are that culture which is actually doing puja of a hathi or a bandar, or eating with a langur also next to you on a pandal. We were always like that. It's just that it's now become cool to talk about it. It was not so cool to talk before. That's all.
Just coming to the East rising, and this is, and I think this is something that we had been saying for a very, very long period of time, and I think now it is come into the West's consciousness, to the fact that okay, India is somebody that you cannot ignore, and this is going to be our decade, and all of these.
अब हम बदमाशी करना शुरू हो गए. We cannot be ignored, because our foreign minister, Mr. Jaishankar, gives a tit for toe. He talks very diplomatic. He's Virender Sehwag, who takes it to the opposition, yet cool under pressure like Dhoni, and somehow he's able to drive the point into the other person's mind. Don't mess with us, otherwise we'll mess further with you.
Yeah.
So we become that dominant species, and that character has been built into our foreign policy, and this is why we cannot be ignored anymore. Because we are also confident, because we are now almost going to be a 5 trillion economy, and we become very confident.
With the largest population.
And the demographics is also right, and we are on the cusp of Amrit Kal, as Prime Minister Modi says.
Interesting. So, okay, coming back to the question of how do we explain to the international audience that is watching, because honestly, and this is something, that an insight that you should know. We have a larger audience actually outside of India than inside of India. So how do I explain to them, okay, why are we having this discussion? Why is Ram Mandir and Sanatan Dharma such a big deal for us?
I don't think we need to explain to them why Sanatan Dharma is a big deal, because they are also Sanatanis and they understand it. It's just that because they also have a shortage of time and shortage of attention spans, and probably they are also into their own sansarik gatividhiyan, that they are not able to visit Ram Mandir, which is almost is actually bigger than the Vatican or the Mecca, in my opinion. And because of the fact that maybe they have an old lady or old mother or father at home, or maybe they are tied up in their daily, daily schedules, that they're not able to visit. So they could actually go to Digital Ram Mandir, and from the comfort of their home can actually do engaging immersive activities together with Ram Lalla, and then finally visit him. And if they share the application twice, even Mr. Modi comes on screen and says, okay, do this, do that, So we've tried to put some, and then we plan to also have a tie-up with the Shree Ram Janmabhoomi Kshetra Trust, in which we actually will set up a canteen over there, and then we would like to feed prasad, and then we could also enable physical puja plus prasad option on the website, in which Pravasi Bharatiyas can specifically come to our website, being an officially tied up website. They can click on that button. We will do the puja for them. Our admin panel will make sure that they are being shown all the aspects, and then the prasad can get delivered to their home at their comfort. So even without coming to Ram Mandir, they can spiritually connect to the Ram Mandir, and they can say to their people that, listen, I went to the Ram Mandir digitally through digitalrammandir.com, and at the comfort of my home, at the convenience of my time, and that too genuinely. It's like that. And more importantly, I'm being issued this digital darshan certificate, which you can now check on the Bitcoin blockchain. And this is another way of actually hooking other people also to some degree of curiosity towards what Bitcoin actually bloody is. People just don't understand because they're tied up in their daily lives. They just don't know that, Bitcoin is actually one of the most important inventions of humankind. And Ram Mandir or religion or Char Dham or Jyotirlingas that we intend to develop could be instrumental ways in actually not only bridging the religion or the spiritual, what do you call, that need inside humans, but also bridge them towards what actually money also is, and they should start exploring with curiosity on money also.
True.
So the goal is to have a website which can delve into the curiosity of humans towards money and the curiosity of humans of satisfying their religious and spiritual needs.
But coming actually, another go at the question is, for somebody that does not understand what Ram Mandir is, does not understand what Sanatan Dharma is, does not understand why is it that this, obviously because when Ram Mandir was ultimately inaugurated by Prime Minister Modi, there was a huge wave of international interest in it, and people actually wanted to know, okay, why is it such a big deal for Indians? How do we explain to them, okay, XYZ is the reason why this is such a big deal for us? One reason, of course, is that we've waited almost 500 years for this mandir to be built. But I think more importantly, how do we explain to them that, okay, XYZ are the reasons why we're so passionate about it?
So very well agree with you that after 500 years of tapasya, tyag, and sacrifice and wait and patience, Hindus are the only community who being dominant in their own country have actually waited in patience for an activity called the Pran Pratishtha of Ram Lalla. And waited for a court order for it. This goes to show the kind of patience we have as a culture, as a tradition, as a people. But more importantly, now coming to your question, that why is it so important? Because it is the start of our culture. We all are Ramji ke santani eventually. Ramji is the 37th son of Lord Brahma, if you will see, and then we are also Raghuvanshis. We are also, Raghuvanshi is the grandfather of Lord, and we are also Suryavanshis. Suryaji was the, I don't exactly remember the kram, but Surya Devta se hi nikle hain sab. So eventually hum Suryavanshi hain, hum Raghuvanshi, and we do not take pride in that. And if we do not accept our culture and we do not accept our identity from where we started, so how will we actually, let me explain it to you like this. What's the eventual goal of life?
To my mind, it's to leave a legacy behind.
To leave a legacy? No, I think then you're taking yourself too seriously. I think the biggest goal of life is to find happiness.
Well,
Okay,
yes.
if you're happy, if you excuse me, if you're happy, you'll be able to help others. If you're able to help others, you'll definitely build a legacy. In my opinion, the chain goes like this. But the goal is that if you are happy, you are able to help others. If you are able to help others, then eventually you've achieved the most important goal of Hinduism, Sanatana Dharma, which is called moksha, which is that to be free from all chakras of coming back into life and suffering or whatever, or journeys. Now, if you have to stay happy, eventually, I don't know, how do I explain this? Because this is so, this is, the, the eventual goal is happiness, okay? And to be happy, you need to be also selfish. But at the same time, if you're happy, like you put on your oxygen mask, you can help others also. And by helping others, you can achieve the main goal of moksha,
which is a core principle
core
of
principle of Hinduism. But eventually, the goal also is that if you also become sthir, you also become calm. Now,
at
people
peace.
tell you, okay, this is with meditation, you are able to filter out the noise. Okay, fair enough. You can achieve your calmness or serenity or peace or joy by doing whatever tactics or whatever tools that are available. But eventually, if you are sthir, if you are calm, right, then what happens? You tell me.
I don't know. I think I've never achieved that level for me to be able to answer that question.
So I think if you're sthir, if you're calm, then I think let's leave this point here, because you know why? Life is a journey for everybody, right? Let people think for themselves. Let's keep some things as suspense. Let people go through their journeys and understand that eventually, if you're calm, what happens? If you're calm, a lot can happen, and you're able to find your ikigai. You're able to find your life's purpose, and then eventually you are able to help others. Then you are able to achieve moksha, and then you are able to also stay connected to your roots, and then you're also able to stay connected to your identity, and then you finally to connect to this identity. Lord Ram was a big deal. So I can only just end it here. That's all. Let the other things be like a let it be like an open riddle for everybody to solve for their lives.
Awesome. So I think just to end it on a final note, if we were to, let's say, give people the how should I frame this question? Because I think we've talked a lot about spirituality, the reasons why Ram Mandir is significant, the reasons why a digital Ram Mandir is actually the way to go. If there was a message that you wanted to leave people with, whether that is Indian Sanatanis or people who do not recognize or associate with the religion, what would that one message be? I mean, obviously, a brilliant one we've already left for them. But if there could be another one of them, what would that be? And it's fine even if you want to leave with that, I'm perfectly fine with it. But there's something else. Because, honestly, why I'm asking you that question specifically is given there are certain people that you meet in life that have actually experienced so much throughout a very short span of time that it becomes really critical for someone who's not been or who's not had those experiences to actually understand okay, whatever it is that goes through in my life or whatever it is that I'm experiencing, I have a model or an ideal to look up to.
Have you read the book Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand?
I have not had the good fortune to do that so far.
That will be my final message. Go and read that book. Reality is what reality is, irrespective of how you perceive it. Second, be selfish. Make yourself happy. If you're not wearing the oxygen mask, you will not be able to make others happy. Third, believe in objectivism. Being selfish for your happiness is good, because every man comes with his or her inner calling. You have to satisfy that inner calling, that ikigai, that purpose you have to find. Once you've done that and you're sthir, you're calm, you are able to help others, and you are able to generate more happiness out of it, and eventually achieve moksha, which is the ultimate goal, to give an end to your life, birth, recycle, and eventually uh, just be yourself. Don't be fake. I know we're living in a very fake world today, and it's very difficult to practice being yourself, because either you're accustomed to you know uh, to show off that image that very happy, you're very happy on social media, whereas it's the exact opposite, because the work and the time and the way the world is structured today demands it, and also because it's the fiat money standard. But eventually, if you can um, be really truthful to yourself and be yourself, I think that's the only last message that I
And
can
I
offer.
think that's a perfect way to end this conversation. I don't think I can do any better than that. So
No, it was such a serene setting. I mean, it was such a wonderful experience talking with you, Arnav, today. And I really wish you all the very best for this journey that you've embarked upon. And also with respect to your other, you know, you know, like the accelerator that you're running, and the whatever work you do, just do it with the same passion that you've shown today, is all I can say.
thank you so much, Suveet, and thank you so much for taking out time. Obviously, Suveet is somebody who's been a good friend, and I wanted to get him on the podcast because the conversation that you saw over the past 1 hour is the every single time we talk. That's the kind of conversation that we have.
Thank you
So
so much. Really
thank you
appreciate it.
so much, Suveet,
Thank you.
and for everyone else who's watching, please do go check out Suveet's Digital Ram Mandir. Um,
It's www.digitalrammandir.com.
you got the
And
website; it'll be in the description, so don't worry about that.
and it's also, you can follow us on Instagram at Digital Ram Mandir, instagram.com/Digital Ram Mandir.
Also follow Suveet on Twitter by India's Bitcoin Man. There's nobody else. If you search it on Twitter,
Yeah.
you're the only one who shows up. Also, do follow the podcast. Obviously, these kinds of conversations are what we're ultimately aiming to do. With every single conversation that we have, these are brilliant people who've been in the industry for a very, very long time, who have a very deep understanding of what is, Bitcoin and the philosophies that are behind it. So thank you so much for tuning in today. Thank you so much, Suveet,
Thank you
for
so much,
being
Arnav.
here today, and hope to see you in the next episode very soon. Bye bye.